Learn all about living in Chapala, Mexico from Tom Lang in this video interview with expats in Mexico. Why did you decide to move to Mexico?
Combination of factors. Of course, weather is always an attraction. Low cost of living. I don't know if you know about Vancouver, but it is insanely expensive now. Real estate. I mean, you can't buy a house probably for under $1.5 million, $2 million. Rent is like $1,400 a month for a basement suite. Food's expensive, gasoline is expensive, everything's expensive. So it was a combination of good weather, food, the people. I like the Mexican people. I also like languages. I studied German for 5 years, French for a year, and thought I could pick up Spanish, which I've sort of done. So I just went with the idea of let's go on a tourist visa and see what happens, and it worked out well.
And why did you choose the Chapala area?
Actually, that was my wife's choice. She had been here many times before. I'd only been once before with my ex, and that was probably more than 20 years ago, and I didn't really think I would like it. I said, I remember the lake was extremely polluted from pollution from Guadalajara that they were dumping into rivers. She said, oh, it's changed. You should see it. So we came over just for a look-see, and I said, wow, yeah, it's a lot different than what I remembered. And the climate, of course. My wife has very severe arthritis, and cold, damp weather is no good, and super hot, humid weather is no good. So it's sort of Goldilocks weather here most of the year, except now.
Yeah, this is the hot period down there. You said it's
yeah, it only
95.
And it only lasts for 1 month, and then as soon as the rains start, the temperature drops 10 or 15 degrees.
Have you lived in other cities in Mexico?
Well, aside from La Paz, no, I've traveled to many cities, but no, the only two that I've lived in were La Paz and here, and we spent some time in Malacca, or San Patricio de Malacca, as it's technically called, and we're probably going to move there.
Just north of Manzanillo.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
when are you planning on moving over there?
Well, it depends how long it takes to find something suitable, but probably in the fall or winter.
Okay, but you've been in Chapala for the past 4 years.
3.5 or so, yes.
Where specifically do you live in the Lake Chapala area?
It's called Riberas, excuse me, or Riberas de Pilar. It's only about a 5 to 10 minute drive from Ajijic. So it's technically Chapala, but it's not really over to the town of Chapala. It's sort of Chapala district. It's closer to Ajijic.
It's a neighborhood in between those two cities.
Yeah, it's in between.
Right. Are you retired or still working?
I still work a couple of days a week. I telecommute for 2 U.S. companies.
And what do you telecommute?
Sorry?
What do you telecommute?
What do I telecommute? I do health coaching, which is really lifestyle coaching. It's for people who have problems managing their weight, or they have diabetes or heart disease, or have difficulty managing stress, basically anything health related.
So you have contracts with two companies in the U.S.?
Yeah, I'm what's the technical term? No, I forget what it's called now. I'm an independent contractor, so I'm not an employee, but I do it all by phone and internet.
Are you renting, or did you buy a house there?
No, we're renting. Well, no, we wouldn't buy. We're going to rent, just because we might move around, and politically, we're not real comfortable with. You never know what might happen.
Okay, keep your options open.
Yes.
So tell us about your house. How big is it, and how much does it cost, and all those things?
Okay, so we have a typical smallish Mexican house. Of course, everything is always either concrete block or concrete construction here, because you can't use wood, you'd have termites. It's 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom. The street is unpaved. It's cobblestone in front, which is typical for this area. And it's a mixture, actually. I would say maybe a third of our neighbors are expats, Canadian and American, and two-thirds are Mexican. And the rent that we pay is 550 US a month.
And how big of a house do you think it is, Tom?
I would say it's probably maybe 1,000 to 1,200 square feet.
Okay, that's a nice size two-bedroom, two-bath. And it's
Yeah, it's got Boveda ceilings, very high ceilings, a couple of skylights. I mean, it's not extravagant. As an example, we did when we first moved here. I said, "Hey, let's go for it," and we lived in a gated community. Uh, and it was a Mexican owner who designed and built the house. He had no formal experience, and he did an unbelievable job. It was in an area called the Racket Club in San Juan Cosala, a little further west of here. Beautiful house, huge, probably 2,500 square feet, magnificent view, beautiful grounds. That was 1,200 US a month.
wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, comparing it to Canada or the US, I mean, the prices are unbelievably good. And we have friends that have a similar house. It's actually nicer than ours in La Floresta, which is in Ajijic. They pay 450 a month. But you really have to hunt to find those. You're not going to find those online. You have to basically walk the street and speak with a Mexican landlord to find something like that.
I was just going to ask you, how do most people find places to rent down there?
Most people, I would say, find places online or through real estate companies. There is a big one that has very good videos of homes rather than just photos. Almost all of them, it's still photos. One company has where they walk through with a video camera, so you really get a feel for it. But of course, anytime you go through a realtor or an agency, you're going to pay more.
Sure.
But that's how most people do it. And of course, if they don't have time and they just want to move down, that's not a bad way to do it.
Do you speak Spanish?
I do. I'm not perfectly fluent, but it's aprender todos los días, poco a poco.
Great. How about your wife? Does she speak Spanish?
She does. She's just more bashful. She usually says, "Tomas, please." And
Well, listen,
but
with Guadalajara so close, you're only 40 minutes from downtown. Do you guys go up there very often?
actually not that often, but we do go. We've gone to restaurants, we've gone to shows. There's a Costco there. We like shopping at Costco. There's a Home Depot. There's a problem in our area. Well, problem, not a big problem, but I like to do a lot of little fix-it projects myself. And the hardware stores here are not bad, but anytime you want any kind of specialized hardware, forget it. You're not going to find it here. There's nothing in stainless steel. There's nothing that's specialized. You have to go to Home Depot or somewhere in Guadalajara. Anything you want, you can find it in Guadalajara.
Well, that's one of the advantages of living next door to a 5 million person city.
Absolutely, and it's convenient when you want to fly anywhere. The airport's quite close, and it's a very nice airport.
You'd mentioned earlier about some concerns with the pollution in the lake. What's the lake's health these days?
Oh, it's a lot better. It's a lot better. You can see there are lots of fish in the lake. We don't eat the fish because I'm still have some concerns about. I don't like the fish anyway. It's like tilapia, freshwater fish. I prefer saltwater fish, seafood. But anyway, the locals eat it. I haven't heard of any problems, but you can see lots of fish, tons of birds, lots of aquatic growth. And I think lots of times there are laws in Mexico, but they don't really get enforced. But for whatever reason, pollution levels have definitely gone down. And at one time, they had a really bad problem with the lake level dropping very low. And Guadalajara being as big as it is, they're always trying to draw water for drinking water from Lake Chapala. I don't know all the technical details, but the lake levels have been pretty stable, I think, the last 5, 6, 7 years. So things are pretty good in the lake.
Is it swimmable?
It is. The locals go in. I wouldn't go in simply because it's not what you would call a pleasant bottom. It's very muddy, mucky, muddy.
It's a shallow lake.
No, actually, it's a very deep lake. It's 95 meters deep, so it's over 300 feet deep at the deepest portion. But at the shores, yes, it's very shallow, so there's lots of reeds and growth. But I'm concerned. I mean, my background is in health, and I know that a lot of the pollutants that went in, they're still down there in the sediment. Mm-hmm. So, and you don't see many people swimming in the lake, not many at all.
What do you and your wife do for excitement?
Well, we probably don't lead a super exciting lifestyle. We have some wonderful friends that we've met here. In fact, we have a couple that are our best friends who are from the States, who are coming over shortly. So we play cards, we have some drinks together, we socialize. We go out to restaurants a lot. I wouldn't call that exciting, but we like experimenting with all different kinds of food. I mean, Vancouver is a foodie delight with foods from all over the world. So we try, there's Japanese food here, there's some Chinese, some Vietnamese, so not just Mexican, French. So we love to go to different restaurants and explore things. I do some hiking. I did a little bit of kayaking. My wife's arthritis, she can't do those things. So we do a variety of things.
One of the real values of living in the Chapala area is it has such a large expat community. So it sounds like the social connections in the expat community are really strong and people network a lot.
Yeah, there's a great organization here. We're actually not members yet. We were going to join, but now that we're moving, LCS, or Lake Chapala Society. They've been here about 40 years. Anyone can look up their website. Fabulous organization. They have all kinds of social events, learning events where they teach technical things, dancing, computer things, language, anything you can think of. They bring in Canadian and American consulate people to help discuss anything of any concern. So the social connections are great. Yeah, I mean, there's 15, 20,000 expats here in the winter.
At least.
So, yeah, and for people who either have difficulty learning a language or don't want to do it, you hardly need any Spanish here.
It's very much, and Mexico is placing a great emphasis these days on teaching English in the schools.
They are. It's just if you get people like, for example, we do have a gal that helps us with cleaning the house and doing odds and ends, and she doesn't speak any English, maybe 2 or 3 words, but all you need is Google Translate on your computer or iPhone. Type in what you need, show it to her, and bingo, you're done. So it's very easy. It really is.
How much do you pay the maid?
We pay a lot more than a lot of people do, but let me just think now. And she has to commute a long distance because she was the same gal that helped us when we lived 20-minute drive east of here. So we pay for her round trip bus fare. That is 50 cents each way. So a big $1. And we pay her 300 pesos, which is about $15. And that covers 3 to 4 hours of her cleaning, and she does a fantastic job. That would be $150 in Vancouver.
Wow. Well,
one-tenth the cost.
What are the things that you really love about living in the Chapala area?
I would say, well, for one thing, it's very scenic. I didn't grow up in a desert or prairie area, so I don't really care for flat. So there are some, I'd say they're mountains, they're not really hills. There's some mountains around. Of course, the climate is fabulous. Late fall from probably October till May, you hardly get a drop of rain. So I like sunshine every day after suffering through 7 months of rain in Vancouver every year. Mm-hmm. So the weather is great. The scenery is great. You have the lakes. There's the Colima volcano, which doesn't pose a threat here, but you can see steam and ash coming out. There's hot springs where you can go to do mineral baths. There's just so many interesting people, interesting stores, lots of really great things to see. A fellow from Sweden that has a little Scandinavian bakery. So it's really a nice mix of, it's like a little United Nations here.
So why are you leaving there to go to Malacca?
We miss the ocean too much. That's the number one thing. I mean, I grew up on the East Coast, not far from the ocean. My wife grew up in Victoria, right on the ocean. I lived in Canada on the coast for 40 years. I lived on a small island. I love ocean kayaking, paddleboarding, fishing, swimming in the ocean. And so we've been here 3 years, and it's just like, it's hard to describe. You know, it's like there's something missing in your life. You just feel this little hole. And even though it's great here, we just miss the ocean so much we have to go back. It's like, it really is like a magnet pulling us back.
Totally understand. Listen, Tom, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Oh, you're welcome. I really appreciate the opportunity and hope that the information we shared is going to be helpful for some other people.
Well, it absolutely will. Thanks, and have a great day, Tom.